Aloha, my name is Andrew Choi. I'm the Planning Program Manager at the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and thanks for joining us this evening. This is the DHHL Grants Orientation Meeting. So we'll quickly go over the grant solicitations that the department is offering in this fiscal year, which runs from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. And just to let you folks know, the meeting is being recorded and we will post a recording of the meeting on the department's website. Okay. We'll also have another meeting on Thursday that will cover the same information. So if you know of others that aren't able to make it this evening that are interested in this information, you can let them know that there's a second meeting this Thursday that will cover the same information. And then the meeting video will be posted to the same website or web page that the Zoom link is currently on that you use to enter the meeting. Okay. So the department is offering three types of grants this year to nonprofits that work with our beneficiaries, our homestead beneficiary communities. The first one is existing facilities, programs, and services. Second one is project implementation. And the last one is community capacity building. I'll be going through these grants in more detail through this presentation. And then the last part of the meeting will be to answer any questions that you folks might have. Also, we encourage you folks to submit written questions that you might have. Even if you ask the question this evening during the meeting, we ask you to submit written questions to dhhl.grants@hawaii.gov by next week, October 22nd, so that we have a record of all the questions that were asked during this request for proposal or RFP process. We will compile all the questions and provide answers to all the questions and post the answers to those questions on the department's website as well as the State Procurement Office website. So once again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide an orientation to the three DHHL grant applications and to clarify the request for proposal or RFP requirements. The RFPs are posted on the department's website, the same website that you folks used to access the Zoom link tonight. If you folks have been attending DHHL meetings, you know that we just wanted to remind folks about everyone's meeting kuleana to make this meeting productive, be respectful to the person talking. Please give chances for others to speak before speaking again. Please hold questions until after the presentation is followed. You can also enter your questions into the chat box at any time, and we'll come back to the chat box to answer those questions. Please raise your hand and wait for me to call on you. There's not too many of us tonight, so I don't anticipate there will be lots of communication traffic, but please do raise your hand so that I know that you have a question. For attendees on the phone, and you may not be able to raise your hand, I will call on you at the end of the presentation and give you an opportunity to ask any questions. And once again, if we do not get to your question this evening, or if you think of another question after the meeting is Paul, please feel free to email your question to dhhl.grants@hawaii.gov. So these solicitations are posted on the department's website and also on the State Procurement Office Hawaii Awards and Notices Data System website, otherwise known as HANDS. So if you go to the HANDS website, and you enter these keywords: RFP 25, HHL 004, 005, 006. That should bring you to the solicitations that are posted on the HANS website. They're the same solicitation notices that are posted on the department website. This is just an example of what you'll see when you get to the HANS website, and then you can enter the keywords in here. So you can enter uh, RFP 25, HHL 004, 5, or 6 into here, and it should pop up. But also the solicitation notices are also on the department's grant website, which is the same website you folks use to access the Zoom link this evening. So real quickly, this is just a summary of the 3 different RFPs. So RFP 004 is meant to provide resources to organizations that service existing homesteads. So, and organizations that have existing facilities, programs, and services to existing homestead lessees. So the funding availability is that there is a maximum award amount of 500,000. And then the total amount that is available for award is 3.5 million. So the types of proposed projects, these are just examples, include improvements to existing facilities on Hawaiian homelands, existing programs and services serving existing homesteads, new facility or new projects or new programs are not eligible for this particular one. So the key word for this particular RFP 004 is existing. So it must be for existing facilities or existing programs. The second grant that is available, RFP 25 HHL 005, is for project implementation. The maximum award amount is $200,000 per application. The total available amount for award is 800,000. So this is for any project assisting and benefiting DHHL beneficiaries, including new facilities or new programs that are perhaps identified in the department's regional plan projects. So RFP 005 is more targeted to new projects or new programs. And then lastly, the third RFP, RFP 25 HHL 006, is for community capacity building. The maximum award amount per application is $20,000. The total amount for award is $200,000. So these are types of projects that have been awarded in the past under this grant category. So if you have a homestead association that is interested in board training or a homestead association that's interested in strategic planning, those are 2 of the more common types of examples that we have awarded in the past. So I'm just going to go a little bit into more detail for each of the RFPs. So once again, RFP 004 is for existing programs or existing facilities for existing homesteads. Oh, sorry, Ken.
Try our best.
Okay, thanks for reading yourself. So an existing program means any program. Sorry, let me start over. An existing facility means a physical asset that you currently manage and or operate. The organization has site control of the facility. So some homestead associations have been able to develop and operate facilities, and sometimes they may need help from time to time to improve the facility or take care of some repairs to the facility. Existing program means any program and or service that you are currently operating where clients and participants are primarily homestead lessees. So these are programs that service existing homesteads and existing homestead communities. So it could be lessees and lessees families. Ineligible projects are identified in the RFP on page 16. So this is a list of projects that do not qualify for this particular grant. Some examples include housing counseling, home ownership assistance, and emergency assistance. So those types of programs are provided in other areas of the department and are not the focus of this particular grant. So once again, the funds available for this RFP for existing programs is 3.5 million. The maximum amount per application award that you can ask for in your application is 500,000. The grant period is for 6 years. If you finish your improvement or your program before 6 years, that's fine, but the max is 6 years. And then also, there's a limit of one application for this RFP, one per organization. So you can't turn in 3 or 4 for 004. It has to be one application for this particular RFP. And then for this RFP only, funds are to be used to benefit homestead lessees primarily. So the second RFP, RFP 005, related to project implementation. So these this particular grant offer is geared towards new facilities, new programs. Some examples include if your homestead organization or homestead association is looking to do create a new facility, it can go towards due diligence studies related to HRS Chapter 343, which is the state's environmental compliance, planning, design, or construction. Also, in addition to facilities, if your homestead organization or beneficiary organization has any programs or services that it's currently operating, you can also apply for grants for that. Ineligible projects, again, are on page 16 of RFP 005. So please review that to look at the prohibited expenses that aren't eligible for this grant award. The funds available, again, are $800,000 statewide. The maximum that each grant application can ask for is 200,000 for this particular RFP. And then like RFP 004, 005 has a 6-year period as well. And again, one application per organization for this RFP. Then the last grant award that we're offering in this fiscal year is RFP 006, Community Capacity Building. The purpose of this grant award is to help build, strengthen, and enhance community capacity within beneficiary communities. So if you have a homestead, again, if you have a homestead association or beneficiary organization that's looking to do board training, strategic planning, there have also been associations that previously applied for this grant and wanted to buy equipment, computer equipment, so that they could increase their communication capacity amongst their board members. So those are examples of building capacity for your organization or building capacity for your community group. And, sorry to sound repetitive, but once again, ineligible projects are found on page 16 of the RFP. The total funds available for this grant RFP is 200,000, and the maximum award per grant application under 006 is $20,000. And once again, the grant period is for 6 years. If you finish your activity before the 6 years is up, that's okay. I'm just going to go real quickly through the RFP sections. The entire RFPs are once again on the department's website, as well as the state procurement's website. Sorry, one last, I forgot to mention something. For RFP 6, 5, and 4, your organization can only submit one application for each RFP, but your organization can also submit one application for each of the RFPs if your organization is interested in doing that. So a homestead association can submit one application for 004, they can submit one application for 005, and they can submit one application for 006. So comment to all three RFPs. The grant deadline is December 2nd, 2024 by 4 p.m. The way to submit your grant applications is to dhhl.grantsrfp@hawaii.gov. We're only taking submittals via email. If your grant application exceeds if the size of your grant application exceeds the allowable limit to email, we suggest splitting up your grant application into smaller parts and then submitting each part via email. So you can say application part 1 of 2, part 1 of 3, etc. We do encourage applicants to submit your proposal in advance. This helps you to assure that the proposal was received by the department in a timely manner. The department can open and read the proposal, and then we can check to make sure the application is complete and that all the components of the application have been submitted properly. And then if not, then we will notify you and it will allow you for time to resubmit before the due date. Please note, though, that the department will not check for completeness after November 25, 2024. So anything submitted after November 2025 and before December 2nd, we may not be able to confirm that the components of the application have all been submitted correctly. This table is also in the RFPs, in the RFP packet. So this table just highlights the important dates associated with the grant application process. So tonight and Thursday night is the pre-proposal orientation sessions. So thank you folks for joining us tonight. October 22nd is the due date to submit written questions about the RFP. And again, please submit your questions to dhhl.grants@hawaii.gov. October 24th, the department hopes to be able to respond to your written questions, and we'll post the responses to those written questions on the department's website as well as the State Procurement Office website. December 2nd is the big date. That is the due date to submit your grant application. And then the following dates are what we hope to accomplish once we receive all the applications. So in December and January, the department staff and the department's grant committee will review each of the applications. and start to evaluate and score those applications. We look to provide a recommendation to the Hawaiian Homes Commission in either January or February of 2025. It depends on the volume of application or the amount of applications that we receive. So that will factor into the timing when staff will take a recommendation to the Hawaiian Homes Commission for its approval of the grant awards. Shortly after the commission's approval of the grant award recommendations, the department will notify all grant applicants whether or not they received received grant funding or did not receive grant funding. For those that do receive grant fundings, we will confirm with the applicant that we will start to work with the applicants that the department and the commission has approved for funding on a grant contract. And that process should take 1 to 3 months to finalize. And then you can, for those that receive grant awards, you can expect to be able to start to invoice for your grant award probably around July 2025. So these sections just kind of highlight what's already in the RFP. So if there are any amendments to the RFPs, we will post those amendments to the department's website as well as to the State Procurement Office HAND's website. We will not send out notices that the RFP hasn't been amended. It will be the applicant's responsibility to check the website for any addendum and changes. Typically in the past, most addendums have been minor, have been grammar or punctuation changes, but sometimes there might be significant changes, but those will all be posted either on the department's website or the HAND's website. Page 10 summarizes the availability of funds. So the award of a contract and any allowed renewal or extension thereof are subject to the availability and allotment of federal, state, or DHHL funds. Part of this year's grants are funded by state general funds in addition to department trust funds. So when we do award the state funds, we have to go through the process to make sure that the state budget and finance will release those monies. We haven't had a trouble with them in the past, and I don't want to jinx it, but I don't anticipate having trouble with them in this fiscal year as well. Once again, the award period or the time the grant applicant or grant awardee has to spend the grant funds is 6 years, and there's no extension beyond that. So please think of, if you're interested in applying, please think of projects that are implementable within 6 years. Section 3 of the RFP goes through eligibility. We want our grant applicants to demonstrate that the majority of their clients or participants are department beneficiaries. And I went through this earlier, but an organization can only submit one application for each RFP. An applicant is prohibited from applying to multiple RFPs for the same project or related project. But if you have 3 different projects, you can apply to multiple RFPs, but you can't apply one project in all 3 RFPs. And then the application should identify the homestead communities that the project will serve. Typically, we see applications that service a particular homestead communities. Sometimes we'll see projects that service multiple homestead communities, but In each case, you need to identify which homestead communities that the project will be serving. If you are applying for a project that requires a land disposition, um, one of the requirements is that the department needs to certify that the organization has site control of the particular facility or particular parcel that the project is related to. So this can take the form of a DHHL right of entry permit, a DHHL license, or department general lease. The applicant on the grant application must be the same name on the DHHL land disposition. There are other certifications on Form M on page 79 of the application. Grant applicants must also be a nonprofit. So there are two primary ways that we certify nonprofit status. One is either state, you're recognized by the state of Hawaii as a nonprofit, either through HRS Chapter 414D or HRS Chapter 421J Plan, a Plan Community or DCCR homestead. So in order to show that you're a nonprofit, you would attach a DCCA or Department of Commerce and Community Affairs certificate of governance. The RFP will talk more about what that is. And then the second main way to prove your nonprofit status is through the federal government or the IRS 501c3 determination letter. So we'll take nonprofit certification either by the state or through the federal government. The another requirement is that your organization has to be compliant with the state of Hawaii to do business. So you can get a Hawaii Compliance Express certificate. And when you do submit it with the application, it has to be no more than 3 months old. And then the board governance certification is on Form F, and that will on page 72, we'll kind of go over in more detail what that entails. Also, if your organization has matching funds for this grant solicitation, for these grant solicitations, that's great. We'll go over that in a little bit more detail later on in this presentation, but it is optional. It's not a requirement for this grant solicitation. Page 57 of the RFP has a checklist to help applicants make sure that they submitted all components of the application correctly. So in summary, the grant applications have 4 parts: the cover sheet, the proposal request, what you're asking for, and then there will be separate required forms and attachments that's gone over in detail in the checklist, and then other materials that might be optional depending on your application. So please use the grant application checklist to make sure that your proposal is complete. Again, if there are any missing items, the proposal will not will be automatically disqualified. So please check the checklist to make sure that when you do submit, that you submitted all the components of the application. Once we receive completed applications by the grant deadline of December 2nd, the grant review committee, which consists of department staff, will start to evaluate the grant according through criteria that are outlined in the RFP. In summary, the criteria are we will be evaluating the organization's capacity. Do they have the capacity to carry out what they said they're going to carry out in the grant application? Is the project ready to be implemented within the grant time frame of 6 years? how will the organization involve department beneficiaries, both in the planning of the grant activity as well as being able to receive the benefits through the grant application. And then lastly, is this project financially sustainable? Is it sound? Is the money that's being asked for reasonable in relation to what the applicant is proposing to do? As I mentioned earlier, there are bonus. The matching fund is optional, and there are bonus points if the organization does have matching funds, and the amount of points that you can get for matching funds is up to 5 points. If you do have matching funds, the RFP does specify required documents that you must attach to certify that you do indeed have matching funds. You can't just say that you have matching funds. The department will need to see verification that you do actually have matching funds in order to receive the bonus points. Another type of bonus points is for priority projects. So if the project that you're proposing is in a current Department of Hawaiian Homeland's regional plan as a priority project, that's identified clearly as a priority project in the regional plans, then you will be eligible for another 5 extra bonus points. These are attachments in the RFP, Section 8. So, and these are meant for reference or information purposes only for the applicant. So we attach the department's monthly lease report as of August 31st. So the lease report just reports on how many lessees we have in each homestead community. And then the other attachments are related to state contract forms. So this was just to give you an example of what the grant contract will look like should you be awarded department grant funding. But again, these are for reference purposes only. Oh, sorry. So Section 9 of the RFP is the grant application forms. Some forms are cover sheets, and then you place them on top of the requested documents. Some forms say sample. Applicant has discretion as to the format as long as the content does not change. And please print on your organization's letterhead. On page 61, we ask for examples of active collaboration with homestead associations or other nonprofits and community services. Page 62, question 3, can be any DHHL grant and funds for any funder? And the answer is yes. This was the grant application checklist I was referencing earlier, and this is again found on page 57. So please use this to make sure that all parts of your grant application have been submitted to the department. So once again, the RFPs can be found on the department's grant website. So that is the website that you folks used this evening to get to this Zoom meeting. And then it's also found on the state procurement website. So just two main emails that you need to keep in mind. The grants, the DHHL.grants RFP is sorry, and this is, let me stop sharing. Grants RFP is the contact that you want to submit your application. And then the DHHL.grants@hawaii.gov is where you want to send any questions. So the grants RFP is where you submit the application, and the grants at hawaii.gov is where you submit the questions. And then I just want to point out that these dates are incorrect. It should be December 2nd, 2024 for the grant deadline. And then the questions should be submitted by October 22nd, 2024, which is next week. Apologies for that misinformation. I need to update that slide. And then typically this is what the department considers a good proposal. The proposal was complete, instructions were followed, the proposed budget scope, budget, and timeline are in alignment and make sense. The proposal is concise, well-written, and error-free. The proposal has enough information and documentation to help our evaluators understand what it is that you are proposing. So if you have any other extra examples of what it is that you want to do, feel free to include that. The applicant and project have a strong connection to beneficiaries. So we have seen letters of support from beneficiary organizations for grant applications. We have seen homestead board resolutions that support grant applications in the past. But one thing the department does try to make sure is that the applicant has a strong connection to the department's beneficiaries. Last comments. Make sure that the funding that you're going after fits the project you want to do. Try not to morph your project just to fit the funding source. I.e., don't chase the money. Apply for what you need. That's most important. I did mention earlier the maximum amount that applicants can request in each of the grant awards, but if it's, if your project doesn't need that much, please don't ask for the whole amount. Because last year we had around 3 million in grant funds to give out, but we did receive $7.7 million in grant requests. So resources are finite. So if you apply for what you need, that will make sure that other organizations will also have an opportunity to have access to DHHL grant awards as well. And please include a project plan in your application, i.e., how will you plan to expend the money over time. Please address the criteria in the RFP. And again, there's not enough money sometimes for all of the applications that we receive. So these are competitive funds, and sometimes we're not able to accommodate all the applications that submit funding requests to the DHHL under these under its grants program. Money isn't everything. There are other ways to bring resources to your community, but it does help sometimes to have grant funding. And then lastly, we have been very fortunate that the state legislature has been giving us general funds for existing homestead communities. And we have had lots of demand the last 2 years for these, for the department grants. So we hope to continue to show need for grants for existing communities. Okay, so you folks have probably heard me talk enough and are probably tired of listening to me talk. So this part is for you to ask questions. I may not be able to answer your questions, but I will respond to those questions, or the department will respond to those questions in writing, hopefully by October 22nd. And then the meeting's being recorded. So I'll have a record of the questions um, that everyone asks, and even the questions that I might not be able to answer this evening. Okay, so I'll open it up for questions. Um, Anyone have questions on the presentation, or don't all speak at once? Or if you're shy like me and you want to just type something into the chat, you can do that too if you have questions. Or if you're also like me and you can't think of any questions at the time, you can also send us your questions to dhhl.grants. Okay, I see a couple people say they don't have any questions, and mahalo. I'll give maybe a couple more minutes if you folks have any questions. If you don't have any questions, feel free to sign off and jump off. Thank you for your time tonight. Okay, I guess no one has questions. So thank you for joining the orientation session tonight. The meeting video will be posted to the grants website. Okay. Aloha, everyone. Have a good night.